There is a field beneath everything you have ever seen, everything you have ever touched, everything you have ever believed to be solid and real, and it is not empty. It is the opposite of empty. It is the most densely packed, energetically saturated medium that physics has ever encountered, and you are standing in it right now. You have always been standing in it. You were born into it. You breathe inside it. Your thoughts ripple through it. And yet no one ever sat you down and explained what it was or what it could do. Tonight, that changes. Because what I am about to walk you through is not a metaphor. It is not a visualization technique dressed up in scientific language. The zero-point field is a measured, documented, mathematically described phenomenon. And when you understand what it actually is, when you stop treating it as an abstraction and start treating it as the literal substrate of your lived experience, something shifts. Not tomorrow, not after years of practice. Tonight, in the next hour, in the space between the breath you just took and the one that follows it. Let me tell you what most people get wrong first, because the misunderstanding is almost universal. When physicists say vacuum, most people hear nothingness. They picture black, cold, lifeless space, a void. And that intuition is so deeply wrong that correcting it might be the single most important thing you ever do for your understanding of reality. The quantum vacuum is not empty. It is seething. It is a roiling ocean of virtual particles flashing in and out of existence billions of times per second, borrowing energy from the universe for durations so short that they technically violate no conservation law, and yet their cumulative effect is not only measurable, it is enormous. The energy density of the zero-point field, the energy that remains at absolute zero when every last classical vibration has been stripped away, has been calculated by some physicists to exceed all the matter energy in the observable universe. Let that register. Not a trickle of leftover energy. An ocean so vast, it dwarfs the stars. This was not supposed to be the case. When Max Planck introduced the idea of energy quanta in 1900, he was trying to solve a narrow problem about how heated objects radiate light. He did not set out to discover that the universe hums with a baseline energy that can never be removed. But the mathematics would not cooperate with the assumption that a system could ever reach true zero energy. There was always a remainder. 1/2 h nu, 1/2 of Planck's constant multiplied by the frequency of the oscillator. That remainder is the zero-point energy, and it exists for every possible frequency, at every point in space, in every direction, at all times. It is the irreducible aliveness of the vacuum. Now here is where this stops being a physics lecture and starts becoming something that matters to the way you will fall asleep tonight. Because this field is not somewhere else. It is not locked inside a particle accelerator or hovering at the edge of the observable universe. It is here. It is the medium your atoms are suspended in. Your body, right now, is a pattern of standing waves organized within this field, and every cell, every electron, every bond between molecules is in constant dialogue with it. You are not a solid thing moving through empty space. You are a coherent fluctuation within a field that has no edges and no off switch. And the question that should keep you up tonight, the question that should make you reconsider every assumption you have about what is possible, is this. If you are a pattern within this field, what happens when the pattern changes? Let me take you somewhere specific. 1948. The Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir made a prediction that sounded almost absurd. He said that if you take two uncharged metal plates and bring them very close together in a vacuum, they will be pushed toward each other by a measurable force. Not by gravity, not by electromagnetism in the classical sense, by the zero-point field itself. The reasoning was elegant. Between the plates, only certain wavelengths of vacuum fluctuation can fit. Outside the plates, all wavelengths are present. The imbalance creates a net pressure pushing the plates together. It took nearly 50 years for the technology to catch up. But in 1997, Steve Lamoureux at the University of Washington measured the Casimir effect to within 5% of the predicted value. The vacuum pushed. The nothing exerted force. The emptiness turned out to be full, and it moved matter. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Not as an interesting fact, as a lived implication. The space around you, the space between your hand and the surface it rests on, the space between your eyes and this moment of listening is not passive. It is active. It is exerting force. It is participating. And if two metal plates can be moved by the geometry of what is allowed to resonate between them, what about the geometry of your own inner state? What about the patterns of thought, emotion, and belief that you hold in the space of your own awareness? What are they allowing to resonate? What are they excluding? This is not a leap of faith. This is a question that follows directly from the physics. Because the zero-point field does not care whether the boundary conditions are metal plates or something subtler. It responds to structure. It responds to what is present and what is absent. It responds to the shape of the container. And you are a container. Let me go deeper into what that means by talking about something most people have never heard of, but that might be the most important bridge between quantum physics and lived human experience. It is called stochastic electrodynamics, and it was developed primarily by a physicist named Timothy Boyer, and later extended by Hal Puthoff and Bernard Heisch. The core idea is radical. What if the zero-point field is not just a background hum? What if it is the reason matter exists at all? In classical physics, an electron orbiting a nucleus should radiate energy continuously and spiral inward, collapsing the atom in a fraction of a second. This was one of the great problems that led to quantum mechanics. The standard answer is that electrons exist in quantized orbits and simply do not radiate. But stochastic electrodynamics offers a different explanation. The electron does radiate. It loses energy continuously, but it also absorbs energy continuously from the zero-point field, and the two processes reach a dynamic equilibrium. The atom does not collapse because the field sustains it. Matter is stable because the vacuum feeds it. If this is true, and the mathematics support it with striking precision, then every atom in your body is being held together right now by a continuous exchange with the zero-point field. You are not a static structure. You are a dynamic equilibrium, a conversation between form and field happening trillions of times per second, so fast and so constant that it feels like solidity. But it is not solid. It is a negotiation, and negotiations can be renegotiated. If this is already shifting the way you think about reality, take a moment and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. This is the piece that changes everything. Because if your physical existence is a standing pattern maintained by continuous interaction with an underlying field, then the question of transformation is not how do I force reality to change, The question is, how do I shift the terms of the exchange? How do I alter the boundary conditions of my own being so that a different equilibrium becomes natural? Think about what you carry into sleep every night. Not just the thoughts on the surface, but the deeper architecture. The assumptions so old you have forgotten they are assumptions. The emotional postures so habitual they feel like anatomy. The beliefs about what is possible, what you deserve, what the world is made of. These are not decorations on top of your experience. They are boundary conditions. They are the shape of the container. And the field responds to the shape of the container. There is a practice I want to walk you through. But first, I need you to understand why it works. Because understanding is not separate from the practice. It is part of it. A technique performed without comprehension is mechanical repetition. A technique performed with genuine insight becomes a living act. So stay with me through this next layer. In 1982, Alain Aspect and his team in Paris performed an experiment that shattered the last comfortable assumption of classical physics. They created pairs of entangled photons and sent them in opposite directions. When they measured the polarization of one photon, the other photon instantaneously adopted a correlated state, no matter how far apart they were. Not at the speed of light, instantaneously. As if distance did not exist between them. As if, at some level beneath the spatial separation we see, they were still one thing. John Bell had predicted this result years earlier with his famous theorem, and Aspect confirmed it. The universe is non-local. Things that appear separate are connected at a level deeper than space. And here is the part that matters for tonight. The zero-point field is the medium in which this non-locality operates. It is the substrate that makes non-separation possible. When two particles are entangled, they are not sending signals to each other across space. They are expressions of a single pattern within the field. And the field does not have the kind of distance that would make communication necessary. It is already everywhere. It is already one. You have experienced this. Not in a laboratory. In your life. You have thought of someone and they called. You have walked into a room and known something was wrong before anyone spoke. You have made a decision that made no rational sense and watched it turn out to be exactly right. These are not coincidences, and they are not magical thinking. They are moments when your awareness dropped below the surface level of separation and touched the non-local field directly. Moments when the boundary conditions of your ordinary perception softened enough to let something deeper through. The question is not whether this happens. The question is whether you can do it deliberately. I want to ask you something right now. When was the last time you experienced one of those moments? A moment when you felt that deeper connection beneath the surface of things. When something happened that your rational mind could not explain, but your whole body recognized as real. If you've been doing everything right, and reality still hasn't shifted, this is the one thing nobody has told you. You meditate, you visualize, you affirm every single morning, and still, somehow, the life you're calling in stays just out of reach. It is not your effort. It is not your mindset. There is something underneath all of it, quietly running the show. I am hosting a free live transmission where I walk you through exactly what that is and how to finally shift it at the root. The link to register is in the description below. Save your seat. The moment you see this, you will understand why you could not see it before. Drop it in the comments. Not as proof for anyone else, but as an act of acknowledgement for yourself. I want to talk about coherence now, because coherence is the mechanism, not willpower. not positive thinking, not repetition of affirmations you do not believe. Coherence. And coherence has a very specific meaning that most people in the spiritual space use loosely without understanding what it actually refers to. In physics, coherence describes a state in which waves are organized. Their peaks align, their troughs align, and instead of canceling each other out in a chaotic mess, they reinforce each other into a signal of extraordinary power and clarity. A laser is coherent light. The photons are all the same frequency, the same phase, the same direction. Ordinary light scatters. A laser cuts through steel. The difference is not the amount of energy. It is the organization of the energy. Your nervous system works the same way. On any given day, your heart is sending one electromagnetic signal, your brain another, your gut another. Your thoughts point in one direction, your emotions in another, your deep unconscious beliefs in a third. This is incoherence. It is the human default. And in a state of incoherence, your interaction with the zero-point field is like ordinary light. It scatters. It has no penetration. It produces no clear effect. You radiate noise. But when your heart rhythm, your brain waves, your emotional state, and your intention align, something measurable happens. The HeartMath Institute has documented this extensively. When a person enters a state of heart coherence, the heart's electromagnetic field, which is the strongest electromagnetic field produced by the body, roughly 60 times stronger than the brain's, becomes ordered, smooth, sinusoidal, and in that state, the brain entrains to the heart. The nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance, which is fight or flight, to parasympathetic recovery. Cortisol drops, DHEA rises, and the person's electromagnetic output changes from noise to signal. This is not metaphor. This has been measured with magnetometers. The coherent heart field can be detected several feet from the body. And if the zero-point field responds to structure, to boundary conditions, to the shape of what is present, then the difference between a coherent signal and an incoherent one is the difference between a request and static. Between a clear pattern the field can match, and a jumble it cannot distinguish from background noise. So here's the first thing I want you to understand before you close your eyes tonight. The field is not waiting for your words. It is not listening to your affirmations. It is responding to your coherence. To the degree that your inner state is organized, unified, aligned, that is the degree to which your interaction with the underlying fabric of reality becomes specific, directed, and effective. You do not manifest with desire. You manifest with coherence. And coherence is not something you think. It is something you become. Now let me tell you about a specific experiment that brings this closer to your body. In 2003, a study published in the journal Physical Review Letters by a team including Shahryar Afshar demonstrated something remarkable about the way quantum systems respond to observation. Afshar found a way to apparently observe both the wave and particle nature of light simultaneously, which standard interpretations of quantum mechanics said was impossible. The details of the experiment are still debated, but the deeper point is this. The act of setting up the observation, the choice of what to look for and how to look for it, altered what was available to be found. Not after the measurement. In the measurement. The structure of the inquiry shaped the structure of the result. You do this every day without knowing it. Every question you ask your life is a measurement apparatus. When you wake up and the first thought is what could go wrong today, you have set up an experiment designed to detect threats. And the field, like any quantum system, will produce results consistent with the measurement you have chosen. When you lie in bed at night rehearsing worst-case scenarios, you are not just worrying. You are configuring the apparatus. You are setting boundary conditions. You are telling the field what wavelengths are allowed to fit between the plates of your attention. This is why tonight matters. Because the state you enter sleep in is not a throwaway moment. It is one of the most powerful boundary-setting events of your daily cycle. Sleep is not unconsciousness. It is a shift in the mode of consciousness. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for critical thinking, logical analysis, and the enforcement of your habitual reality model, goes largely offline. The default mode network quiets. The thalamic gate that normally filters sensory input relaxes, and for a brief window, as you cross the threshold between waking and sleeping, you enter a state that neuroscience calls the hypnagogic state, where the boundary between conscious intention and subconscious programming becomes permeable. This is the window. This is when the boundary conditions are most fluid. This is when the shape of the container can be reformed with the least resistance. Not because sleep is magical in some vague sense, but because the neural architecture that enforces your current reality model is temporarily offline, and the field, which is always present, always responsive, always listening to structure, can receive a coherent signal without the usual interference. Let me be precise about what interference means here, because this is where most people fail without understanding why. The interference is not external. It is not bad energy or negative forces or the universe testing you. The interference is the habitual state of your own nervous system. It is the chronic low-grade stress response that most modern humans carry without ever fully discharging. It is the tension in your jaw that you do not notice until someone points it out. It is the shallow breathing pattern you adopted years ago during a period of anxiety and never corrected. It is the belief, buried so deep it feels like fact, that reality is fixed, that you are small, that change is hard, that wanting too much is dangerous. These are not thoughts. They are physiological states. They live in your fascia, in your vagal tone, in the resting firing rate of your amygdala. And they constitute the boundary conditions that your body presents to the field every moment of every day. You can recite affirmations until your voice gives out. But if your nervous system is broadcasting a signal of contraction, scarcity, and vigilance, that is the shape the field reads. That is the geometry between the plates. And the Casimir effect of your life will correspond to that geometry, not to the words you layered on top of it. So the work tonight is not mental. It is not about thinking the right thoughts. It is about entering a state, a specific, measurable, reproducible state in which your body's electromagnetic output becomes coherent. Your nervous system shifts into parasympathetic dominance, and the boundary conditions you present to the zero-point field change from contracted to open, from fragmented to unified, from noise to signal. Here is how. I want you to begin by noticing where you are right now, not analyzing it. Noticing. There is a difference. Analysis is the prefrontal cortex doing what it always does, categorizing, judging, comparing. Noticing is older than that. It is the simple awareness that exists before interpretation. The felt sense of being in a body, in a space, at this particular moment. Do not try to change anything yet. Just notice what is already here. Notice the weight of your body against whatever surface supports it. Not the idea of weight, the actual sensation. The places where pressure is greatest. The places where there is space between you and the surface. The temperature of the air against your skin. The rhythm of your breathing without trying to control it. Just watching it. The way the inhale happens, and then, without any effort from you, reverses into an exhale. The body knows how to breathe. It has been doing it without your supervision since the moment you arrived. Trust it now. As you settle into this noticing, I want you to bring your attention to the center of your chest, not the surface, the interior, the space behind the sternum where the physical heart sits, but also where something less anatomical lives. A felt sense of openness or tightness, warmth or coolness, expansion or contraction. Whatever is there, meet it without preference. You are not trying to feel love or gratitude or any prescribed emotion. You are making contact with what is actually present. Now here is the specific practice, and I want you to understand the physics of why each step matters. Begin to slow your breathing, not dramatically. Gently. Aim for a rhythm of about 6 breaths per minute. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Or if that feels strained, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. The specific ratio matters less than the slowness and the smoothness. No sharp edges on the breath. No gripping at the top of the inhale or forcing at the bottom of the exhale. Smooth, continuous, like a wave rolling onto shore and drawing back. This specific breathing rate is not arbitrary. Research from the HeartMath Institute and from studies in cardiac coherence has shown that a respiratory rate of approximately 6 breaths per minute induces a state called respiratory sinus arrhythmia resonance. At this rate, the natural variation in your heart rate, the speeding up on the inhale and slowing down on the exhale, reaches its maximum amplitude. Your heart rate variability, which is a direct measure of autonomic nervous system flexibility and coherence, peaks. And when heart rate variability peaks, the heart's electromagnetic field becomes ordered. The signal cleans up. The noise drops out. You are literally tuning your body's primary electromagnetic transmitter. You are taking the scattered, chaotic signal of your habitual stress state and organizing it into a coherent wave. And you are doing this at the precise moment when you are about to cross the threshold into sleep, when the gatekeepers of your habitual reality model are stepping aside. Stay with the breath. 6 breaths per minute. Smooth and continuous. And as the rhythm establishes itself, begin to generate a feeling, not a thought about a feeling, the feeling itself. And here is where specificity matters, because the field does not respond to concepts. It responds to frequencies, and a frequency is not an idea. It is a vibration. It is a state of your body's electromagnetic output. So do not think about gratitude. Do not recite reasons you should be grateful. Instead, remember a moment. One specific moment when gratitude was not a concept, but an experience. Maybe it was a morning when you woke up and for no reason at all, before the mind started its narration, you felt the simple goodness of being alive. Maybe it was a moment with another person when the walls dropped and something real passed between you. Maybe it was a moment in nature when the beauty of what you were seeing overwhelmed the part of you that narrates, and you simply stood there, open, receiving. Find that moment, not the memory of it, the feeling of it. Let it rise in your chest. Let it warm the space behind your sternum. Let it spread into your shoulders, your throat, your belly. Do not perform this. Let it happen. The body remembers states far more accurately than the mind remembers facts. Give it permission to remember this one. Now here is the step that most teachings leave out. And it is the step that makes the difference between a pleasant relaxation exercise and an actual restructuring of your interaction with the field. While you hold this coherent state, while your breathing is slow and smooth, and your heart field is organized, and your chest is warm with a genuine felt emotion, I want you to release the need to know how. This is the hardest part, not because it requires effort, but because it requires the absence of a specific kind of effort. The kind your mind has been trained to apply to every problem since childhood. The figuring out, the planning, the strategizing, the mapping of steps between here and there. The zero-point field does not operate through linear causality. It operates through resonance. It does not need you to draw it a map. It needs you to become the frequency of the destination. And the frequency of the destination is not a thought about what you want. It is the felt state of already being there. Not pretending, not faking. Genuinely entering the state that the fulfilled version of your reality would produce in your body. The relief, the ease, the quiet joy, the sense of rightness, the deep okayness that is not dependent on circumstances because it precedes circumstances. This is what the physicists would call setting the boundary conditions. You are not trying to push the plates together. You are changing what is allowed to resonate between them. You are changing the geometry of the container. And the field, which is always present, always responsive, always saturated with more energy than all the matter in the universe, will produce the Casimir effect that corresponds to the new geometry. Not because you forced it, because you allowed it, because you became the shape that permits it. I want to pause here and ask you something. What is the one boundary condition, the one old belief or pattern that you know you are ready to release tonight? Write it in the comments below, because naming it is the first act of changing the geometry. There is a reason this works at the threshold of sleep and not as well during your busy afternoon. During the day, your prefrontal cortex is running a constant simulation called your life. It is predicting threats, evaluating options, maintaining the model of reality that you have agreed to call real. And that model has enormous inertia. It resists change because its job is stability. It is the bouncer at the door of your consciousness, and it does not let unfamiliar patterns in easily. But at the edge of sleep, the bouncer goes on break. The hypnagogic state is characterized by a shift from beta brain waves, which are the fast, analytical waves of waking consciousness, through alpha, which is relaxed awareness, and into theta, which is the frequency band associated with deep meditation, creativity, and the boundary between conscious and subconscious processing. In theta, the critical filter relaxes, the model of reality becomes malleable, and the signal you are broadcasting, if it is coherent, if it is genuine, if it is a felt state rather than a thought about a state, can imprint directly on the subconscious architecture that generates your experience of tomorrow. This is not programming yourself in some mechanical sense. This is more like what happens when you tune a radio to a different station. The radio does not create the station. The station was always broadcasting. The radio simply became resonant with it. Your nervous system, in a state of coherence at the threshold of sleep, becomes resonant with possibilities that were always present in the field, but that your habitual boundary conditions were excluding. If this understanding of coherence and resonance is opening something in you, here is something deeper I want to share. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies, from the dense transmissions trapping you, through the ascending currents, to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now, back to the deeper current of what we have been exploring. Let me tell you something about the nature of possibility that the zero-point field reveals, because it reframes everything you have been taught about the future. In classical physics, the future is determined. If you know the position and momentum of every particle, you can, in principle, predict everything that will ever happen. The future is a single line extending from the present, and your only choice is how to walk it. But quantum mechanics demolished this picture entirely. At the quantum level, the future is not a line. It is a probability distribution. It is a cloud of potential outcomes, each with a different likelihood, and the cloud does not collapse into a single actuality until a measurement is made, until an observation occurs, until consciousness interacts with the field. Richard Feynman formalized this with his path integral formulation. A particle traveling from point A to point B does not take one path. It takes every possible path simultaneously. Each path contributes to the final probability, and the paths that are in phase with each other reinforce while the paths that are out of phase cancel. The result is that the particle appears to take the classical path, but underneath that appearance, every possibility was explored. You are not a single particle, but you are a quantum system. Every atom in you obeys these rules, and the path integral formulation suggests something extraordinary about your relationship with the future. The future is not one thing waiting to happen. It is every possible thing explored simultaneously, with the actual outcome determined by which possibilities are in phase with each other, by which possibilities are coherent. Your coherence is your vote. Your inner state is your ballot in the election of which possibility becomes real. And you cast this vote not once but continuously, with every breath, every heartbeat, every emotional state, every unconscious assumption. The question is whether you are casting it deliberately or by default. Most people cast it by default. They inherit their boundary conditions from their past. The nervous system pattern laid down in childhood, the beliefs absorbed from culture, the emotional bets formed in response to pain, these become the shape of the container, and the field faithfully produces the Casimir effect that matches. This is why people experience the same patterns repeating in different contexts. Different job, same frustration. Different relationship, same dynamic. Different city, same feeling. The external details change, but the field response does not, because the boundary conditions have not changed. The geometry between the plates is identical. Tonight, you change the geometry. Not by fighting the old pattern, not by analyzing it, or understanding its origins, or processing the trauma that created it, though those things have their place. Tonight, you change it by entering a state that is incompatible with it. A state so coherent, so organized, so genuinely felt that the old boundary conditions cannot coexist with it. Like two frequencies that are out of phase, one cancels the other. And the one that wins is the one with more coherence, the one with more organization, the one that is more fully embodied. This is why I said understanding matters. Because when you understand that the 0-point field is real, that it is measured, that it responds to structure, that your body is in continuous energetic dialogue with it, that coherence is a specific, achievable, physiologically measurable state, and that the threshold of sleep is a window of unusual permeability, you are not performing a ritual. You are operating a mechanism. You are working with the actual architecture of reality rather than hoping that reality will make an exception for you. Let me bring in one more piece of the science before we return to the practice, because this piece addresses the objection that is probably forming in your mind right now. The objection that says this sounds too easy, that reality cannot be that responsive, that if this worked, everyone would be doing it. In 2012, a paper by Luc Montagnier, the Nobel laureate who co-discovered HIV, reported something that the scientific establishment found deeply uncomfortable. Montagnier took a sealed tube containing a highly diluted DNA sample and placed it near a sealed tube of pure water. Both tubes were exposed to a weak electromagnetic field at 7 Hz, which is within the range of the Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic frequency of the Earth. After 18 hours, the pure water, which had never been in contact with the DNA, was able to produce DNA sequences through polymerase chain reaction. The water had somehow received the structural information of the DNA through the electromagnetic field alone. This experiment has been controversial, and replication has been inconsistent. And I am not presenting it as settled science. I am presenting it because of what it suggests about the relationship between coherent electromagnetic signals and the structuring of matter. If a coherent signal at the right frequency can transmit structural information through water, and your body is roughly 60% water, and your heart produces a coherent electromagnetic field that shifts measurably based on your emotional state, then the idea that your inner state structures your physical reality is not mysticism. It is a hypothesis with experimental precedent. The reason everyone is not doing this is not that it does not work. It is that coherence is rare. Genuine, sustained, embodied coherence is one of the hardest states for a modern human to achieve. Not because it is inherently difficult, but because everything in modern life works against it. The constant stimulation, the fragmented attention, the chronic stress, the addiction to thinking, the belief that doing is more important than being, the terror of stillness, the inability to feel without immediately interpreting. Coherence requires you to stop, to settle, to let the waves of your inner ocean calm until the surface becomes still enough to reflect something other than your own agitation. And most people cannot do that for more than a few seconds before the mind reasserts its dominance and the old pattern reinstates itself. But the threshold of sleep is a natural window where this calming happens whether you cooperate or not. The brain is already shifting toward theta. The body is already releasing its grip. The critical filter is already softening. All you have to do is meet this natural process with intention, to ride the wave that is already forming and add your coherent signal to it. To let the field receive you as you actually are in that moment, not as you perform yourself to be during the day. So let me bring this back to the practice and add the final layer. You are breathing slowly, 6 breaths per minute, smooth and continuous. Your attention is in the center of your chest. You have accessed a genuine felt state, a real emotional frequency, not a concept, but a vibration in your body. You have released the need to know how. You have stopped trying to figure out the path and instead become the destination. Now add this, as you hold this state, as you feel it warming your chest and softening your shoulders and smoothing the lines of tension in your face, allow your awareness to expand. Not outward in a spatial sense, deeper. Imagine, or better yet, feel that the edges of your body are not hard boundaries, but gradients. That the electromagnetic field your heart is producing does not stop at your skin, but extends outward. Because it does, it measurably does. And that this field is not separate from the larger field, the zero-point field, the quantum vacuum, the substrate of everything. Feel yourself as a pattern within the pattern, a wave within the ocean, not separate from it, not acting upon it from outside, arising within it, made of it. This is not visualization. This is recognition. You are recognizing what physics already tells you is true. You are not a solid object in empty space. You are a coherent fluctuation in a field of infinite potential. And in this moment, at this threshold, with your nervous system quiet and your heart field organized and your awareness expanded beyond the skin boundary, you are in the most direct contact with that field that your waking life allows. Hold this. Do not try to make anything happen. Do not reach for outcomes. Do not project timelines. Simply be the frequency. Be the state. Be the geometry that permits what you have been excluding. And then let sleep take you. The reason I say tonight is not hyperbole. It is because the subconscious mind does not process time the way the conscious mind does. When you imprint a coherent state at the threshold of sleep, the subconscious does not file it as something to work on later. It integrates it immediately. It begins restructuring its model of reality around the new input. And because the subconscious mind is the part of you that is in continuous contact with the field, the part that regulates your heartbeat and your immune function and your hormonal balance and the 1,000 other processes that happen without your conscious involvement. Its restructuring is not theoretical. It is physiological. It changes what your body does tomorrow. It changes what you notice. It changes what you are drawn to and what you avoid. It changes the probability distribution of your next 24 hours. Not because the universe is a vending machine. Not because you placed an order and reality is delivering it. But because you changed the instrument. You retuned the receiver. And a retuned receiver picks up different stations. The stations were always broadcasting. You simply could not hear them through the static of your habitual state. There is something else I want you to understand about the zero-point field that rarely gets discussed, and it has to do with time. In classical physics, time flows in one direction, past to future, cause to effect. But in quantum electrodynamics, the mathematical framework that describes the interaction between light and matter with extraordinary precision, the equations work equally well in both temporal directions. Richard Feynman's diagrams, which are the standard tool for calculating quantum interactions, include particles moving backward in time. An antiparticle, in Feynman's formulation, is mathematically identical to a particle moving backward through time. The zero-point field exists outside of the temporal flow that your conscious mind experiences as the arrow of time. It is not in the past or the future. It is in what the physicist David Bohm called the implicate order, the unfolded dimension from which the explicate order, the world of surfaces and sequences that you experience, continuously unfolds. When you enter a state of coherence at the threshold of sleep and present a new pattern to the field, you are not sending a request into the future. You are altering the implicate order from which your future unfolds. The change is not downstream, it is at the source. This is why the effects can feel non-linear, why people who genuinely shift their inner state often report that change does not arrive step by step, but appears suddenly, as if it was always there and they simply had not noticed. The opportunity that materializes, the person who shows up, the idea that arrives fully formed, the obstacle that dissolves without being fought. These are not rewards for good behavior. They are the natural output of a changed geometry. The Casimir effect of a new container. I want to be honest with you about something, because honesty is part of coherence, and I will not sacrifice it for the sake of a cleaner narrative. This practice is simple, but it is not easy. The simplicity is in the mechanism. Slow your breathing, organize your heart field, generate a genuine felt state, release the need to control the how, expand your awareness, and let sleep take you. A child could understand these instructions. The difficulty is in the execution, because between you and this state lies everything you have been carrying. The day's tension, the week's anxiety, the year's accumulated stress, the lifetime of conditioning that says you are separate, small, powerless, and that reality is fixed and indifferent. These are not just ideas, they are neuromuscular patterns. They are hormonal baselines. They are the literal shape of your fascia, which stores emotional history in its tension patterns. And they do not release because you decide they should. They release because you create a state that is incompatible with them and hold it long enough for the nervous system to recognize that it is safe to let go. This is why the breathing matters so much. It is not decoration. It is the primary lever you have over your autonomic nervous system. You cannot directly control your heart rate, your cortisol levels, your vagal tone, or your brainwave frequency. But you can control your breathing, and your breathing entrains all of these. 6 breaths per minute is not a suggestion. It is a specific intervention that shifts the autonomic balance from sympathetic to parasympathetic, that increases heart rate variability, that promotes alpha and theta brainwave production, and that creates the physiological conditions under which coherence becomes possible. Without the breath, the rest is wishful thinking. With the breath, it is physiology. So tonight, when you lie down, do not rush this. Do not treat it as another item on your to-do list. Give it time. Give it 10 minutes of slow breathing before you even begin to generate a felt state. Let the nervous system settle. Let the body discharge some of the tension it has been holding. You might notice twitches, involuntary movements, sudden surges of emotion, shifts in temperature. These are the nervous system reorganizing. They are not problems. They are the process. And when the felt state arises, do not grab it. Do not clutch at it with the intensity of someone who is afraid it will leave. Hold it the way you would hold water in open palms, gently, with just enough attention to maintain contact, but not so much that you squeeze it into something it is not. The field responds to authenticity, not intensity. A whisper of genuine feeling is louder than a shout of performed emotion. Consider coming back to this video each night before sleep, or sharing it with someone you know who is ready to hear this. When you share something that has shifted your own understanding, you are not just passing along information. You are extending your coherent signal outward, creating a ripple in the field that reinforces your own shift while opening the same possibility for someone else. That is how coherence compounds, not in isolation, but in connection. Let me leave you with one final understanding, and it is perhaps the most important one. The 0-point field is not something you access. It is something you are. You do not need to reach it, find it, connect to it, or activate it. You are already a pattern within it. You have always been. The practice I have described is not about establishing a connection that does not exist. It is about removing the interference that prevents you from recognizing a connection that has never been broken. Every moment of your life, the field has been holding your atoms together, sustaining the electron orbits that make your molecules possible, maintaining the quantum coherence that allows your enzymes to function, your DNA to replicate, your neurons to fire. It has been doing this without your permission, without your awareness, without your gratitude. It will continue doing it whether you ever acknowledge it or not. But there is a difference between being sustained by the field unconsciously and participating in it consciously. The difference is the same as the difference between being carried by a river and swimming in it. Both get you downstream, but one is passive and undirected, subject to every current and eddy, and the other is a collaboration between your intention and the water's power. You do not fight the river. You do not try to overpower it. You align with it. You add your coherence to its flow, and the result is something neither you nor the river could produce alone. Tonight, you swim. Tonight, you stop being carried by default patterns and start collaborating with the field that has been holding you together since before you took your first breath. Not through force, not through desperation, not through the clenched jaw of someone trying to make the universe obey. Through coherence, through the quiet, organized, deeply felt state of a nervous system that has remembered what it is. You are not a solid thing in empty space. You are a living pattern in a field of infinite potential. And the pattern can change. Not someday. Not after you have earned it. Not after you have suffered enough or learned enough or become worthy enough. Now. Tonight. In the space between one breath and the next. In the threshold between waking and sleeping. In the moment when the old geometry softens and the new one has not yet hardened, and everything, for just an instant, is possible. Enter that space tonight. Enter it with slow breath and an open chest and a genuine feeling and the willingness to release control. Enter it knowing that the field is real, that it is measured, that it is here, that it responds to coherence, and that you are made of it. And then let it show you what becomes possible when the container changes shape. If this resonated with something in you tonight, if you felt even a flicker of recognition beneath the words, leave a comment. Not for me, for yourself. Because putting something into words is itself a measurement. It is an act of observation that collapses possibility into actuality.